Hey there, hiker friends. Matt O here, and welcome back to Hike Life. Today we're going to talk about bear-proof food containers. We're going to talk about why you might need one, where you might need one, and we're going to cover just the basics on how to use a bear-proof food container. I've got Pika, as you can see, just over my shoulder. She's hanging around here today, so you'll see her running back and forth. And then the neighbor is doing some chainsaw work, so hopefully you can ignore the sound of a chainsaw for a little bit while we do this episode. Thank you for your patience on that. Why are we talking about bear-proof food containers today? Well, it's fall. Yesterday was the official day of fall, and as you know, the closer we get to winter, the more bears are active because they're looking out, trying to get themselves all fattened up to be able to hibernate through the winter. So it's even though bears are active throughout the entire summer and they are very active in the spring, fall can be a time where interaction between bears and humans can take place more often because they're just out trying to get food and trying to get fattened up. And your food is a great source of fat and energy and really easy. I mean, there's a lot of calories you can pack into one of these and be easy for a bear to just scarf this down instead of having to hunt for berries and roots for hours and hours on end. So you may be making it an easy meal for a bear, and you need to be safe. That's why we're talking about those right now. So there's basically two different types of bear-proof food containers. One is a bag style, and one is a canister style. Canister style is kind of like this one you see here, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later in this video. And the bag style is, of course, just like it sounds, a bag. It's just a special sack built with special material that bears have a tough time getting into, and they're considered bear-proof, although I've heard of bears getting into the bag style ones before, and most of the time they keep them out of this, but I've heard one or two stories about a very smart bear who was able to figure out how to get into a canister style one. But for the most part, they're able these bear-proof food containers are able to keep bears out of your food. The two big things you need to know about the container you might buy, whether it's bag style or canister style, is whether it's IGBC approved. IGBC stands for Interagency Grizzly Bear Committee. So there's this committee that studies grizzly bears, and they actually put these containers in with captive grizzly bears with food in them, whether the bag or the canister style, and they test out whether a grizzly bear can get into one of these things. So if the food container you're looking at is IGCB approved, you're in luck. Basically, the grizzly bears can't get into them. That's what you need to know about the bag or canister that you're going to use. The other thing you need to know: these food containers, whether the bag style or the canister style, are not smell proof, not at all. And the other thing you need to know is that bears have the ability to smell, which is 7 times greater than a bloodhound. So their ability to smell is pretty amazing. Some grizzly bears have been known to track down a dead carcass from 20 miles away. So if you think that your canister is going to keep the smell away from a hungry bear, you're wrong. This is simply meant to keep the bear out, not to keep it from finding it or knowing that it's there. That's what you need to know. It's meant to keep the bear out. So why would you use a bear canister? First of all, safety. You don't want to have an encounter with a bear. Bears are hungry critters, and you don't want to get in between it and some food, and you don't want the bear to get into your food and eat all your food, and now you got nothing to eat, and you still got a bunch of hiking to do. Safety is number one. Also, they may be required, depending on the area you're going to. bear canister or a bear bag may be required. And in some areas, the bear bags are not even allowed. They require you to have a bear canister of some sort. So wherever you're going, if there's bears in the area, you should be taking a bear bag or bear canister, and you need to check the local requirements and see whether or not they even allow the bag style, or they allow just the canister style, or they allow both. It may depend on whether there's grizzly bears in your area. Some areas of the country have no bears at all. Some areas of the country have just black bears, like where I live. All we have is black bears. And some areas of the country have grizzly bears and black bears, and then you got all sorts of stuff you have to think about. So whether they're required and whether there's bears present. If there's no bears present where you're going, don't take a bear canister. Don't take it. Unless you have another really good reason to carry a little bit extra weight. Don't take this thing if there's no bears. But if there's bears there, please take something that'll keep the bears from getting into your food. What should you keep inside of your bear container? You should keep all of your food, all of your toiletries, and anything else that is a little bit smelly. Like maybe you take some sort of body wipe with you to help keep from stinking too bad. Those have a scent. You'll want to keep those inside of here. You don't want to tuck those in your tent with you. Anything smelly, anything food related, and all of your toiletries should stay in your bear canister overnight. Where should you put your bear canister or your bear bag? That's another very important question. So let's say you pack this thing full of your food, full of your smelly items, and full of your toiletries, and you get inside your tent and you say, I think I'll just use this to prop my feet up on because my feet are a little tired and swollen. Not a good idea. The bear can smell it. The bear will dig through your tent to get to your food. It may not want to eat you, but it definitely wants to eat your food, and now you're in the way. Not a good spot to be in. Don't set it directly outside of your tent. You could unzip your tent, set it just outside your tent, and think, hey, the bear's not going to get in here. Well, bears are kind of curious, so it sniffs out your bear canister, which is set just outside your tent, and now all of a sudden you hear the bear eating all your food, or trying to eat all of your food because it's in your bear safe container. And there's a ruckus going on outside, and then you wake up and you're scared half to death because you know it's a bear out there. And then the bear's scared half to death, and now you've got an encounter which should not have happened. So they recommend that you keep these things 100 yards away from your campsite. 100 yards? Really? That's a full football field away. To be honest with you, I don't know that I've been in a camping, backpacking situation where I could even walk 100 extra yards out of the way to put this thing somewhere. Unless it was on the trail, which you don't want to do that either. So I have personally not placed my bear canister 100 yards away. What I have done is I've placed it far enough away from my tent and my campsite that if a bear decides to smell it out and try to eat on it, try to get it open, it's not going to put me or my dog or anybody else in the campsite in danger. They can mess with the food and try to get into it all they want, and I might hear a little bit of a ruckus way out there in the distance, but it's not going to make a situation where the bear and I will come into close contact. So that's something you kind of need to decide. How far away from my tent will I feel comfortable if a bear finds my food in my bear canister? Should I put it? That's up to you to figure out. So the other couple places you should not put it. Don't put that thing near a stream or a river. Because let's say you stick it away from your tent. It's in a safe spot away from you. But there's a stream or a river, and Mr. Bear comes along, smells the food in your bear canister because he's got wonderful smell and he's very hungry. And he starts playing with this thing, trying to get it open and trying to figure out how he's going to break into it, and accidentally knocks it into the river. There goes your food. Down the river, you're never going to see it again. The canister will eventually fill with water and sink to the bottom, and now you're hungry. The other place you shouldn't put it is near some sort of cliff or steep terrain where if the bear knocks it down the hill or down the cliff, it's just going to go bouncing and bounding and rolling and tumbling, and you'll never see it again. So don't put it near a cliff. Not near a stream or a river, not near a cliff or a steep incline. You want it somewhere flat where when the bear is going to bat it around a little bit and wrestle with it and try to break it open, it's just going to stay kind of in that same area, and it'll be easy for you to find in the morning when the bear has finally given up and gone away. So that's kind of your 101 introduction to bear canisters and bear bags and bear safes. And the other thing you should know is these things, whether the bags or the canisters, they start out around $80 bucks. This one was around 80, and they go up to several $100s. There are some that are custom made. You can call in and say, hey, I want such and such a dimensions. They'll make it for you. Those will cost $300-400 bucks. So you plan on spending a minimum of 80 bucks to get a good, strong bear canister that is approved by the Interagency Grizzly Bear Committee. All right, let's talk about the bear canister that I have. This is the, let's see here, Bear Vault 500. And so the BV 500. You can look that up online. They sell them at REI. They sell them on Amazon. This thing costs about 80 bucks. They also sell one that's about half its size for if you're going on a shorter trip. I like this one. It holds about 11.5 liters according to its specs, which is 700 cubic inches. Whatever that means, you can kind of figure that out. I know that I can put 4 to 5 days worth of food in this canister for myself if I pack it correctly, if I plan it out, and if I make everything as small as I can to fit it in here. I can get quite a bit of food in this thing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the pros of this canister. One thing I like about it is it's strong. It's IGBC approved, Interagency Grizzly Bear something or other approved committee. It's approved by that. So this one has actually been tested with real live grizzly bears and found that they can't get into it, except for one smart bear somewhere figured it out. Just one, according to the story that I read. So this is a very strong canister. It's clear, which I like because I can see my contents. For some reason I like that. It's also two-piece. It has the body and then the lid. It doesn't have screws. It doesn't have bolts. It's just a lid that kind of screws off and on with with a locking mechanism. So it's pretty hard to lose parts because both of these things are pretty big and it'd be hard to lose parts. The other thing, hey Pico. The other thing I like about it is you can put cool stickers on here. See? It's kind of neat. Let's see, what else is cool? Oh, the large volume. You can carry a lot of food in this thing. What I don't like about this particular model or this particular brand. Alright, back up, Pico. Back up. See, there's a little bit of food residue she can smell. This is my hiking buddy. What I don't like about this is that it's pretty dang heavy. This thing weighs almost 3 pounds. 2 pounds 9 ounces is what it says. So it's heavy. If you're going to carry 4 or 5 days worth of food inside this thing, you've got your food weight, plus you got the almost 3 pounds of extra weight with this bear can. The other thing I don't really like about this is it's pretty bulky. It has to be to get its strength. That's where its weight comes from too. But you have to fit this in a somewhat large backpack. Not huge, but like I've got one day pack that is big enough where I could do an overnight with, but not with this thing. If I have to bring this, I can't bring that particular backpack. I have to get the slightly larger one to fit this inside. So it's just a little bulky, and it's shaped like a can. So when it goes inside your backpack, you kind of have to stuff things around it, so you don't have this weird can shape pressing up against your back. And the lid, although is super handy, it's got 2 locking tabs here, which are hard to show on the camera. You can look that up online if you need to. 2 locking tabs that make it so a bear can't easily get into it. And they're relatively easy to get undone in warmish weather. But if it gets kind of cold at night, in the morning, the plastic gets cold and rigid and it can be kind of difficult to get it open. So you have to have some patience with that, and you kind of have to put some strength into it. So those are the only 3 things I don't like about it. Overall, I really like this bear canister. To be honest with you, I haven't had any real troubles with it, and I haven't had any experience with other bear canisters to really tell you the difference, except for I did borrow a buddy of mine who had a very nice canister that was kind of custom made, which was quite a bit lighter, and its opening mechanism was maybe a little more difficult in some ways and easier than others. But overall, this is a very good bear canister. Lots of people use these, and plus it comes in like a half size if you need something a little bit smaller and don't want to have this large one, or you have a smaller pack to fit it in. So guys, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode on bear canisters, and maybe sometime I'll do a little bit more in depth on how to actually load one of these up. If you'd like to see a video about that, just say so in the comments. If you've got any more questions about these things or other bear canisters, let me know and I'll do my best to answer your questions for you. And thanks for watching, guys. Hit the little thumbs up if you like this video. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And if you want to get a notification every time I put out a new video, hit that little bell and that'll send you a little notification whenever I get to put a new video out. Happy hiking!